Okay, so welcome everybody to Conscious Dance for Healing. And I was really excited to share this and bring Christine and Ayla to a talk together to give to you, because I find that dance and music and movement is so important and it's so healing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce Christine, and she's going to be sharing her story, aren't you, Christine? And whatever you want to put in there, what you've said about the book and your personal experience of using dance and music for healing. And then I'll be talking about my understanding and experience of dancing movement and healing. And then Ayla is going to talk about her perspective as a teacher of this. And she's very kindly offered to do a taster session, an experience, a short experience of what it's like. You don't have to be gallivanting around the room and shaking it all unless you want to. But it'll all become clear about what the experience will be, and Isla's going to be explaining that. So that'll be at the end, and I hope you can join us for that, because it'll be lovely. Okay, so Christine, and now Christine is a midwife, and or was a midwife. Is that correct? That was a midwife.
I did nurse training, midwifery training, health visitor training, and district nurse training. And
Thank
then
you.
I walked out because I got chronic fatigue, or ME, whichever expression you understand. And my journey has been to where I am now, doing alternative things. So I haven't taken any medication.
And do say, how did you find dance? And so that was your non-dance experience, out of the dance experience. How did you find dance? How did it help you? What happened?
Well, what I realised during all the I've done quite a few different things, but what I realised was that as a child, I'd done ballet from the age of 5 to 8, and I subsequently realised it was the the movements you had to do were all rigid, and so when I found five rhythms or movement medicine or whatever, it was just to let your body do what it felt like doing. And to me, this was just like heaven. There was no steps to learn, nothing to put in your brain that you had to do right, anything like that. I just moved with the music. And I think I came across it first when I was still in England, but I went across to live in Ireland for 5 years. And at that point, I met Caroline, and I've done dancing since then. But on the whole, it was like over 4 days and across the country. So since COVID arrived on our shores, I found it a lot better because it's just for 1 hour. It's every week and it's in your own home. You don't have to travel anywhere. You don't have to pay any extra prices for getting food and accommodation somewhere else. And it's constant. And I feel it helps me more with everyday life than just going maybe once a year, which I didn't tend to do it more than that. Um, and the other thing is sound. When I make sound, which you can do when you're dancing, it affects everyone else in the room. But on Zoom, you can just mute yourself and you can make as much sound as you like, which can happen naturally while you're moving. So I can't think of a better way of doing it.
And when we were talking before, you were saying that you didn't really move at all. You were lying on the floor. Can you just explain?
When I first went, as I said, the condition was affecting me more. Although I managed to travel across the country, when I got there, I just literally lay on the floor, and not until the music itself started to trigger my body did I actually move. And it did trigger it. And by the end of like the 3 or 4 days, well, before the 3 or 4 days, I'd just be joining in with everyone else, because the whole, and it's the energy of the group as well that makes a difference. And then you got the music, and then you can see other people and just see how they're moving, and that gives you an idea of what it's about. So all those factors for me, it made a big difference.
And what difference? So you had ME and you left your profession because of that, and you found the music. So
Well,
what difference did the music make to you, or how did it?
well, just what I said, it just moved my body. I mean, I just lay there until the music moved me physically, you know, and it wasn't a problem with the facilitator. They're very free and easy and let you do what you like, and it just seemed quite normal. But what I could say is I was working, and then like September of the year 94, and then I started a homeopathy training course, which was one weekend a month. And by the October, I'd actually walked out the job, which to me was just mind blowing. It's like I stepped into the alternative training, and I didn't even wait till I finished the training. I just walked out, just being in a bunch of people who thought a bit more like I did, rather than the ones I've spent years working with for 22 years. I
And
just walked out.
as a massive step of guidance or
Yeah.
inspiration or something.
Well,
And
it's just like my intuition and what felt right for me. And it's like I felt I'd sort of come home. I was meeting a completely different type of person.
yeah, and
I
and
have, Christine, a question about the story because I remember a little piece. Is that okay if I just ask? So I seem to remember you when you left your career, when you were at your worst place. I remember you saying how it felt physically that you had no energy and you couldn't even speak fully, right? And you couldn't move properly. So I'm really interested in that phase of what you went through. Then we're hearing a bit of how you came up out of it.
Um, what happened was I actually had the mother of a colleague of mine, I was doing midwifery at the time, came to see me. So she'd got a daughter who was in a similar profession, but because I couldn't listen to her and I couldn't respond to her talking, she just walked out and never came back again. So for me, this journey in some ways has got more and more lonely because I've had to do it myself, because I couldn't even explain to people what wasn't working for me. And yet I managed to get across the country and did Tai Chi as well. I probably started off with that first. The dancing didn't come until quite a few years down the line. But there's always been something I've been doing on the journey. I couldn't just have stayed at home. And I actually think a certain amount of movement, I know for ME, you have to do it, but a lot of them just don't. You know, it's like you have to give yourself a certain amount of exercise of some sort, whatever you like, is the conclusion I've come to. And from the odd bits I've read, I have heard that that is actually what they recommend. But to be honest, I've done most of mine through my own intuition and guidance.
and how what's the time span of this
You can't
experience?
say that because I don't even know when it starts. And the other thing is, what I've learned recently is you do this to yourself, to be honest. I'd known for a few years that wasn't enjoying the job, but I hadn't got the courage just to walk out, even though I did later down the road. I hadn't got it at the time because, like most people, I was scared that I couldn't survive. I was on my own, I hadn't got anybody I could depend on. So I would have given up a lot sooner if my courage would have been a bit more than it actually was. Although I think some people still think it was courageous what I did. And from a spiritual point of view, I now know that I walked out in 94, and in 84, no, 87 was an event called the Harmonic Convergence, which was specific, very powerful energies coming in to the world from the higher levels. And that I now realize was what was affecting me. But at that time, I hadn't got a clue about any of this. It's just something I've learned in the intervening decades. So to me, my understanding is it was that energy coming in that put me off my feet, and I should have just left, but I didn't until 94, by which time my body had just completely collapsed because I hadn't responded as soon as it would have been more helpful for me to do. So I then had to recover my health before I could even do anything else.
And I think that's what can happen, isn't it? That I'll talk a bit about that in a moment. But we're forced into things if we don't feel we've got the courage, or we can't for some reason. Life kind of forces us into the change we need, or our bodies do. But, Christine, you wanted to share something from a book or something?
Yeah, this is a book called The Enchanted Life, and there's I've only read about halfway, but since this session was mentioned, I come across a paragraph which might be interesting, or I hope it's interesting for you all if I read it. Is that all right? It's probably about 10 lines or something. So, if you are a dancer, or even, or especially if you are not, dance with the tree. If the wind is shifting its branches, dance as if the wind is also moving your limbs. Let the wind move your limbs. I'm just going to mention something here. I was out in Israel and that happened to me. The trees were moving, and without me even doing anything, my body just automatically joined in with the tree and I just danced beside it. I was blown away. Right, I'm just carrying on reading the next bit. Don't just look at the tree and admire it in a detached kind of way. Interact with it. Act as if you are part of the world around you, not just a spectator of it. And that is what you will become. My friend Ruth follows what she calls a land-based dance practice. What she is trying to do, she tells me, is to shape her own movements to the shifting movements of the natural world around her. How quickly she moves, whether she is active or passive, her position in the landscape, and the angle at which she holds her body, all are determined by what's happening in the environment she occupies at the time. It's a direct response to the land, she tells me. I'll leave it at that. If you want me to read more, I can, a little bit more, but I'll stop at this point.
That was lovely, Christine. Very apt. And I'll get in touch, to ask these references that you mentioned on this call. And then what I'll do is I'll put a web page together and send that out to everybody. So if anybody wants to take it further and read more, then they'll have
I
those
mean, it's
links.
not all on dance. That I just came across that little bit, which is, so that's why I thought I'd read it.
That was lovely,
But
lovely.
it's a lot broader than that, the whole book. It's amazing. It might well help some of you there.
Thank you so much. Okay, so is there anything else you wanted to add before we move on?
No, I think it's better if people can ask questions. I've probably said enough at the moment.
Yeah. So does anybody want to say a question at the moment? Ask Christine anything. Crickets. And that's quite okay. Just absorb. It's lovely. Okay, so I'll go on to yes, Amanda. Yes, if you just unmute yourself.
Hi, Althea. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
I just wanted to say this is a great group, but a couple of days ago, I actually had a sound bath for the very first time. And because I'm so tense, always like that, and with my arthritis and everything, and my stress and grieving and everything, I noticed when she noticed when she said my root chakra was blocked, and she said when she was trying to clear the energy, and my feet twitched. So there's got to be a lot of, there's got to be something in it in sound baths, and I'm going to keep it up. I'm going to have one every 3 weeks.
Cool.
Because I'm into alternative therapies.
Go for it. And you know, I think sound goes. We are vibration. We are vibration. We resonate at a certain frequency, and our emotions are a certain frequency, and our thoughts are, and our bodies all has a certain vibration, and sound does too. So if it's okay to start talking about my thing, is that all right, Christine? You
Oh
feel
yeah, just go with the flow.
okay?
Anyway,
And so,
thank
so
you.
most of you know me already. I'm Althea, and I've been a natural therapist for over 30 years. I have tried all sorts of therapies along over the years. I actually studied in shiatsu, reflexology, and Reiki, and all sorts of things. But I just wanted to say on that point about sound, Amanda, that um, I used to, well, I do play guitar, and my guitar teacher, he said to me that each note has every other note in it. Every note is the complete sound. Each note is that. And when you play your favorite songs, or you hear, or you hum to yourself, or you move even, that's it's all about balance. You know, when you hear those sounds, they kind of go into you and they affect your body. The sounds do, you know, like when you hear your favorite song, you start jigging around or something. As you say, Christine, it makes you move. It makes you move because it's not just physical; it's emotion and thoughts and memories, and just feels good, and it makes you
And it
move.
gives you energy.
It gives you energy. It gives you energy. So my angle on sound and music, what I know is that we hold things in the body, and I specialize in helping people clear chronic long-term conditions. And what I know is that when people come to me, that's just the beginning. That's just the first step of what's really going on. And to give you an example, well, everyone I work with is an example, but I'll give you one example. One lady, Janice, she had awful digestive problems, and she knew everything about what to eat or not to eat, and this enzyme and that protein, and you know, way beyond my knowledge. I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, but she knew everything about food, but she couldn't hardly eat a thing because she had this awful digestive problem. So that's when she came to me. That's what helped. She wanted help for that. But her backstory was that she was terrified of her father, and he was extremely abusive and very angry man, and was scary. And as a woman, when she met me, she had two sons who were estranged from her. She is a very sociable, very sweet, communicative person, and her neighbors were just giving her a hard time, and just it was just the social aspect, which was really important to us, was just not there. So as we work together with some of you know my pain-free method of releasing the physical, that it releases all the reasons that it's there. So the story came up as we worked together, some of these things and a lot more. And as she became better, her stomach, her digestion settled down, and she started, of course, her energy rose, and she started getting on with the neighbours. It just worked, you know. As she felt better, she was giving off a different vibe. When you're happy and you're laughing, it's completely different to when you're having a terrible old time. And one of her sons called her up out the blue, and she was over the moon. Can you imagine? They were estranged, you know, and because she was getting better, that happened to her. So not only does it release movement and sound, release things. I mean, you know, I use my pain-free method, but music and sound does exactly the same. So that's so for not just physical, but trauma, for memories, for negativity, just simple worries or anxiety or negativity or something, feeling down. You know, it can shift things. It really can. And when I was doing treatments in clinics, I've worked mostly in clinics most of my life, professional life. We used to use lots of paraphernalia to help the person relax. So I'd do reflexology or shiatsu, but we'd use beautiful music, lovely warm towels, wash their feet in lovely warm bubbly water, use beautiful oils. So the environment, the music, the sound, the things you do around outside of you can be affecting you. So you don't even have to think, you know, you can use oils and things to shift not just physical but emotional and mental things. So the things that I've come across that are they to do with music and sound over the years, I came across a thing called pulsing, which is it's called pulsing massage, I think. There are other names for it, but basically when they massage you, that you sort of rock. They rock and rock and rock and move that limb and move that leg and move that. They rock and rock and rock like this, moving, pulsing, and it really as you move, it releases stuff. I had emotional. Woo, it all came up, and I don't know. I didn't expect anything, but the movement created the I don't know, relaxation or the something to release the blockages in me. You know, I come from a very military family, and being English, I suppose, as well. You know, you don't sort of openly. Well, I didn't, and maybe some people do, but I was very contained, I should say, in my emotions. So it's all in there, and no avenue to release. So this pulsing thing was the movement released it. Another thing I came across was bioenergetics. I don't know if anyone's heard of bioenergetics. Yeah, and some of you have. So it's also the same. It's movement to release, not so much music, but movement. And I remember I did this experience of bioenergetics, and there's a book I'll put in I'll send it to you, the link, and they got us to go across the room as a big box. So you did this big sort of movement, and then you went back the other way as a tiny little movement, and then you had to leap like a rabbit. I forget now, it's a long time ago, but you had to do all these sort of funny movements. I thought, what is this? But it was releasing, and especially, you know, coming from a military background and stiff in English, it was like an avenue of expression of freedom. Didn't even have to speak. It's a sense of, can I really, and going deeper than that, it releases stuff that you're holding inside, which we all do. So finally, the other part of movement, which is a big part of my life, I used to dance salsa. I do dance salsa, especially before I had my babies, and I went on tours and shows and taught for years, and again, it's no talking, it's just movement and expression. And sometimes once it took me a year to kind of get the hang of the steps and the balance and get the fitness level up and all that, but after the year, certain songs would come up and I would just fly in that bubble of adrenaline rush you get when you do exercise, that peak of, and I felt like I was flying and just felt so fantastic. So that was a classical kind of dances, you know, when you learn steps and express through the music. But yeah, very, very freeing, no words, all music and sound and what moves you, what makes you feel good. So that's my kind of stance on the whole movement music thing. Do you have any questions before we go on to Ayla? So we'll move on to Ayla then. So Ayla, I met, if you want to just unmute, thank you. I met, we're trying to figure out when we met. We reckon it was just not that long ago, actually, maybe 2 or 3 years or something. I think we met at the most amazing festival called the Sun and Moon. So all of these things that we mentioned, I'm going to be putting in the page, so you can have a look and take it further if you want. And at the time, I'd been doing a thing called 5 Rhythms Dance. Christine, you mentioned that, so you know about that too. And I loved it, you know, through lockdown, I found 5 Rhythms thing, and they put on different sounds and music to make you do different movements. So they put like a really African thing and you just down on the ground, and then it was very light and fluffy and your sort of arms going up, or, you know, they took you through all these sort of waves of parts of you through the music. And then I went to this lovely festival, a healing festival really, and I found Ayla, I went to her class. It was very, very similar. And it was just fantastic. You just close your eyes and try not to look at anybody else. Or maybe you do. And I like how she's very gentle and encouraging, but not really steps at all. It was, and the whole reason why I invited Christine and Ayla to come on this was to show you that it's not really dance. You can, if you want to, do dance, but it's movement and freedom of movement and expression of you. So like Christine, you can just lie on the floor and move your fingers, or just listen to the music, and that's just as good. So Ayla, can you say a little bit about your background and how you got into this, and all yours?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you all for coming and for being here. And I've had a journey with chronic pain and chronic illness myself. And yeah, you know, to hear Christine's story and to know that all of you will be holding these stories is really touching to me, because I know those places. You know, I've been in places very early in my life really to feel that, where I thought I'd never walk properly again and things like that. And that spurred a huge change for me in my life. I was a speech and language therapist professionally in my former life, which it really feels like. I feel like a real cat with 9 lives. And dance has been a big part of that journey for me, because it once I discovered it, it took me deep and deep and deep into layers of myself, and letting go of all those parts of me that, you know, I think, Christine, your story, when we push ourselves beyond our means, when people are expecting us to be what we don't feel like we are inside, and all the reasons why those things happen, you know, family pressures, work pressures, societal pressures, that broke me in the end. And physically, I just started to break down, and that was a catalyst for me to find what I then called the mind-body connection, I would call it, and realizing that there was this really strong connection between my mind and my body, and in fact that they were inseparable, and having to go on a bit of an inner journey to understand why I had these chronic symptoms that might not be what I'd been told. And so that started a big shift for me into lots of body-based practices, but they weren't dance yet. Very, very helpful, a reframing of an understanding of how the brain and the nervous system and the body work, and why internal conflict and stress and stored emotions, like Althea said, you know, there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and it's an incredible book for any of us who've got the body that speaks, and sometimes the way it speaks is incredibly painful, and I'm sure that everyone and anyone here will know that. So yeah, so dance came to me in the form of 5 rhythms, although dance was there in my life from a little child, which I'm sure we'll all have memories of, and that's quite relevant for the dance that I hold, and the model that I hold, which we will share on that page, Althea, is called Middle Earth Medicine. And it's very much about reconnecting with what we loved when we were younger. And a lot of us loved dance and movement and freedom of expression. So I found 5 rhythms at a time in my life where I was having another one of these really difficult parts, you know, stages of what on earth is going on here in my life and who am I? And I started going to a weekly dance, and it was absolutely, completely transformative. I remember telling my teacher there that it felt like CPR for my soul. And at that time, I did have quite a lot of chronic health issues, and I was really studying the nervous system. I was starting to understand why I ended up in certain states, you know, very shut down, very lethargic. And it was a huge journey for me of rediscovering joy, like you said, Althea, which is so important, and we lose when we're experiencing pain and illness. But rediscovering me. And so I spent quite a few years sobbing in those dances. And what was beautiful was that nobody seemed to care too much, which was good. And so I could just turn up, and felt very self-conscious for a long time. But, you know, it took years to get that out of me, because we are so conditioned to have all these sort of rigid movements and to get out of that. But to have these spaces and time, sometimes it was enough to just walk on that floor and just floods of tears would start to pour through me. And I was like, okay, there's something here. There's something really big here. And the mind-body connection work had shown me what I'd suppressed since I was a child, and then had kept in, that was just waiting to come out and hadn't been able to. So it felt like you know, it was really interesting thinking about this talk and going back over that whole journey for me, because I don't do as much of the formal mind-body work with people. I do still work with people in that way if they want to, and I love the nervous system and I love the neuroscience, but I just want to get in a room or get online with people and move, and we share and we see what happens, and in that space we can share that moment of joy, or like, oh, I could do that bit more. You know, when there's chronic pain, the shifts can be so small, but they're so important for us, you know. Or gosh, I got in touch with how angry I am, and how sad I am, or how helpless I feel, and we don't move away from those experiences. And embedded in, I would say, any good conscious dance practice, and there's been 5 rhythms mentioned, movement medicine, and the one I practice is Middle Earth medicine. Caroline Carey, who's the founder of that, is working on a book at the moment which is all about trauma. So we're really informed by understanding that in our lives we have a series of events that get stored in the body, and that dance is one of the healing tools in this body of work. Creativity is another, where we get to get into the layers of what that was, but gently and with care. My understanding and knowledge of chronic pain and chronic illness is there is often a history of a lot of stress that may have started in childhood, or it could be stress in your life at a current time, but it's frequently layer and layer and layer and layer and layer and layer and layer that just leads to serious dysregulation of the mind and the body. And so I think I heard it in Christine's story, and if I really look back, I see the wisdom in the breakdowns of my body and mind at times. And dance has probably been the most holistic practice for me, because I don't go round and round the story. I did a lot of therapy and that was very helpful, very, very helpful. But I found, oh, hang on a minute. I can go around the story if I want to, but the movement really helps, and it helps move the bits that are ready to move, or it helps me see I'm repeating that pattern, or there's so much possible in the dance. So it's like a mirror, and if the body keeps the score and we can bring consciousness to the movement, and we become aware, it literally starts to release and reveal. And when we do that together and in a safe enough way, that's where the depth of the healing lies for me. So I'm deep in study of that still, and will be what's called an apprentice to the Middle Earth medicine body of work, but been holding online dances for quite a few years now, which has been such a blessing. Christine has been a long-standing member, and Althea has been a very consistent member. It's been like a real journey of people joining, and we danced all through lockdown and through the ups and through the downs, and this is also part of it. It's a sustainable practice. And just to touch on that, you don't have to, so everyone's a dancer, and that's, you don't have to dance in a certain way. And then I love that. The more someone can turn up, so I have people come into my in-person dances who do have chronic pain and illness, and they'll bring a mat to lie on, and one woman just needed to just lie on the floor mainly for her first however many dances and just observe, and then allow herself to engage in it. And that was both for her body, but also there was something in her that was like, oh, I found a space where we can tap into the innocence of ourselves through that dance, and wow, this is a bit new and different, and I need that time. So, our bodies are incredibly wise, and it's a very challenging journey when it feels like they're turning in on us. And it still speaks to me, my body, and it will speak to me in symptoms, but I'm very grateful to be in a better place than I was before. And that's my wish for everyone, really. And all of our journeys are incredibly unique, so I can only share what's worked for me, and I wouldn't ever tell another person what is right for them. But movement, dance, and the music, which moves the emotions, so it supports just through the vibration, but through the different tracks and the sounds. So we can be, we can choose, like, I'm going to dive into that a little bit through that maybe slightly melancholic track, I'm going to feel into my heart, and then I'm going to come back up, and then maybe we'll go into a slightly lighter track. So the music's very much part of guiding a journey through the body and seeing what's there and not judging it. I'm so aware of the challenges of the chronic pain journey, and my dance is in no way about, right, let's dance and feel amazing at the end. But, you know, when we move, there is so much happening at the physical level with the endorphins and the brain's changing, and we can encourage our bodies to try something new, even if it's tiny, in a way that we might not otherwise, because we have all that support of the music and each other. And then just the emotional and the psychological, that we can see and we can move, and then we feel connected to something bigger, which for me is that third bit of the almost, you don't have to subscribe to a certain religion or spirituality, but something a bit bigger, you know, wow, something bigger than me has happened here and moved through me. That's a huge part of anyone's, you know, healing process. And healing is just about remembering that we're whole. And with chronic pain, a lot of that's been really, you know, impacted through our journey and whatever the roots of our journey is. So I've got a lot of compassion for us all here. And I find that the dances bring that, you know, and they bring compassion to ourselves and to each other. And I'm not sure there's any other more potent healing force, actually. We'll all find the tools that we need, and dance and music is one of them, and sound. Thank you, Christine. Yeah, we do encourage sound and voicing. It's movement of energy, a movement of emotions at its core. Yeah, I could go on and on, so I'm going to stop now.
Absolutely, totally with you, Ayla. And I do want to add to that, but thank you so much. And just, do you want to say exactly what you offer in person and online? And if you just say what it is, and then I'll be putting on the webpage how to get in contact with you and to book up with those things if people want to come along to your classes. Just say where you are and what you do, what you offer.
Yeah, so I'm based in Surrey, in a place called Farncombe, which is near to Godalming and Guildford. You're quite near to there. That's quite amazing. No, I'd know anyone who might be.
I'll unmute everybody. Just oops, unmute all.
Amanda's muted, but I can hear you're trying to tell me.
Speak, Amanda. You just got to unmute your if you press the phone, it's
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, I'm in Busbridge, just up the road.
Wow. That's so interesting.
Can I do it from my chair because I've got arthritis? Can I do it online?
Oh yeah. So and also tonight, what I wanted us to do was we'll just do 5 minutes or so. I've literally got a couple of tracks so we can pay attention to how the music feels, and we're just going to work with hands or toes and just see how even that much is enough. It's a way into the body. And my teacher Caroline's got such a lovely way of, she always talks about just listen to the vibrations, and because sometimes your body is actually quite still, but there's something really moving, and it's just saying that it's all okay. It's actually really great to go back to, where does the body want to begin? Because I think we pushed ourselves a lot, and just let's see what the body wants to do, and we can just move little bits of the body, you know.
So you have
Tuesdays online, 12 to 1:15. That's our regular dance.
I'll put the links to join and get in contact with Ayla afterwards. So
so that's the main online one that I do at the moment. And I was running in-person dances in Busbridge Village Hall, but I've just stopped. And I'm going to be running a monthly one in Dorking, which is another part of Surrey. But I'm really curious. It was so wonderful to connect with Althea and Christine through these dances and realise that we all had this interest, because it just made me think of how inaccessible it can be to people who, you know, when you are struggling. And so I'm curious to see what comes of tonight and sparks possibilities, really. And yes, you know, like a session particularly working with people who have the limitations chronic pain.
Because you were talking about you might put something together like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's really piqued a curiosity because it's something so personal to me as well. Yeah.
So a specific class for limited movement and chronic pain.
Well, for people in chronic pain or with chronic illness, yeah.
Beautiful.
It can be quite overwhelming trying to attend a dance class when you're feeling like, hang on. But, you know, if we remember that our fingers we could find joy through the dance anyway, I think that's really important.
The joy, and that's really important, isn't it? The emotion in it, how it makes you feel. You know, what's the music doing to you? It's all part and parcel of the movement. It's not just movement at all. Okay, so does anybody have any questions before we go into the dance experience?
Did you want to say something, Christine? I thought you had. You're muted.
So unmute yourself. If you click on the microphone, that's it.
Is that it? Well, what I felt listening to you might be relevant to say is I think I was quite out there little child, which might be relevant for some of you. And the society, which is the 50s, we were told to be seen and not heard. And myself and my brother, well, there's 5 of us, but the 2 elder ones who are a year between each other, we're still suffering. I know it might not sound like it now with me talking to you, but we're still suffering in that space of you're not supposed to say anything. So, you know, to be out there and try and take this out to the rest of the world is really difficult when you're not used to even hearing your own voice, never mind saying it to other people. So I just thought I'd mention it because it might be relevant for some of you listening at the moment.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you so much. Okay, so if there's not any more questions.
I felt a lot of emotion as you were speaking. I could feel it coming, my own emotion come up totally. I don't know what it was, but as you were speaking, there was some sort of connection. I don't know what it was, but I could feel the whole of the emotion come up, right up. And the message I got was that how much I'm missing the dance, because since I've had depression and anxiety for 2 years, I'd not danced, and I jived. I was a jiver, and I felt I just never had anything. I absolutely loved. I loved to dance. My dad was a professional dancer at Blackpool as well, so it's always been in my blood. And I miss it so much. And as you were speaking, I realised how much it was fabulous to feel that way. And it's been a long, long time. That's what I want.
I just want to say from that point, Jackie, that we always start from where we are. So, you know, you miss it, it's been a long time. Okay, that might be true, it is true, but you always start from where you are, you know, and keep pointing towards where you want to be. So I just want to give you some hope and reassurance that you just start from where you are. As soon as you're ready, that's where you start from.
It's lovely to hear that stirring, isn't it? And it can be hard to let those shoots of hope pop up after a while, but then it's important to feel the tears and let them flow because it's natural. Yeah. It's part of letting it be. And Marie has to go. She's messaged.
Okay, are there any more questions? Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Has anyone tried movement so far or dance to support with where you are at? Obviously haven't heard exactly all of your stories, but
I've danced with the mop.
I love that.
And it's made me feel good. Mm. Yeah.
It's all about the feeling, isn't it?
Yes.
It's just about the feeling.
Yes, I'm really interested to join.
Mm.
Mm. Yes, there's something there. I don't know what it is. Mm.
So, and when you share, and you shared of your love of dance, you know, I feel that because we have mirror neurons. So I started to feel that, yeah, you know, and it's even that is enough to start something moving. That's the beauty, and then seek out what we need.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're all connected, you know, it was something that
Absolutely.
about the dance, we're interconnected with the elements, with nature, with each other, and stress and trauma over time actually disconnects us, and then that becomes part of why we feel so.
Yes.
I'm going to label it how it is because it's unique for us all, but it's that reconnecting that can be hard, but that gradually starts to shift everything inside. And,
Yes.
and also, like, how do we be okay with where we're at each step and not always be, I've got to be there, or this isn't okay. It's such a juggling, and the dance is just, you can dance with all of it. That's another phrase that comes up a lot as Althea and Christine here. It's like, just dance with it all. I don't want to do this right now. Dance with that, you know. Oh God damn it, I wish my elbows would move more. Dance with that. Or wow, I'm loving this. I didn't realize I could move that much. You know, all of it is just something that you can move with and be with
Absolutely. I mean,
in these types of dances.
a lot of the times I come to your class, Ayla, and I don't want to move, or I've been on the computer too long, and it's like I'm all in my head or something, and I'm irritable, or I don't want to, I don't know, the inner child or something, and I don't, so I do, but then I find myself moving anyway. It's funny. So
Yeah.
dancing with where you're at, I get that. That's
Being
what
okay with it. Yeah.
I think part of it is we're all expected to be a certain way all the time, and the thing is we aren't. We're fluid, and this is a planet of water, which is emotion. And this country especially blocks our emotions because that's the way we're brought up, and so we're all buggered. That's why we all have to do this.
Damn it.
It's the only way to get it all out of our systems.
Yeah.
So
the cultural impact, it's definitely,
it's just terrible.
Yeah. I remember when I first started dancing salsa, I was so determined. I thought, I want to dance this. And I was in a club, and this very bendy Brazilian guy with always floaty hair, and come on, just move. And I was like, I can't, I'm English. I was determined to get the movement, and it was a thing called a body wave. You just do your body like this, and fluid movement. And I had to really break it down. I think, what's he doing with his feet? What's he doing with his hips? I had to completely sort of break it down to get it into my body. But then, you know, down the road of that, doing, you know, many hours of dancing, I was there. But it took me a long time to move my body. And, you know, it's that, is it sexual thing? And like salsa or dancing, because we're sort of, in England, isn't it? Where you're not allowed to move. You can do Morris dancing or something, or get drunk with
so many rules and regulations, and so whoever we are, we're bringing all of that to the dance floor, and essentially the dance is just showing that to us, and then we can, you know, say, do you know, I'm going to let that bit of myself go because I really want to learn this little serpent move. Because I did salsa too, and it was the same for me. It was absolutely revelatory, you know. So yeah, it's like, wow, and different cultures just don't have the same physical rigidity and hang-ups. But yeah, these dances are different. They're just, and they grow on you. You might have experienced that. It's a practice. That's another really important thing. It's a practice.
Definitely.
Practice, and it's a commitment to yourself. And
that's it. Sometimes
and it helps the scream to come out.
It does. I mean, sometimes I'd feel fat and ugly, and I thought I don't want to go to the club, and I was like, just make myself go. And all the adrenaline goes through. Of course, you're moving, so it's all burning off you, and you feel better afterwards anyway. And I'd push through that mental, emotional block and just do what I love, and I felt better. You know, so it's the commitment to yourself, as you say. It's the commitment to what feels good to you, what feels right for you, and what you want to do.
Yeah.
that drives you forward.
Just loving yourself as well, which we all need,
Absolutely.
and compassion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ayla, it's coming up to the hour. We're trying to keep it within the hour because I just want to make it nice and concise, and don't want to get people getting tired or anything. So
Make me host, and we'll just do a few minutes of movement.
Yep.
We can just get a little flavour of it. So I'll be sharing some music, and we did a little check before. So once I'm host, I'll be able to set that up again.
And then I won't be able to change any people coming in or out or anything. So just so you're aware.
Yeah, well, we'll just do a few minutes. Just give me a minute. So whenever we do start a dance, it's good to just see how you want to begin. So whilst I'm setting this up, just check in with the body and how you want to begin. You know, how are you feeling at the end of this little talk? And maybe taking a minute to be honest with yourself. Sometimes we can feel a bit tired, or you might feel invigorated and rejuvenated. So just take a moment with your body and the breath, because we can begin without the sound. And then once I've set this up, we'll begin a little bit more with some music. So yeah, what's moving in me? What am I noticing? Maybe what's touched me? Any insights that I've had? Okay. So I'll begin playing a bit of music, and if anyone has any problems with the sound, we did a bit of a sound check. You can pop a message through, but hopefully this will all be okay. Let's just begin by noticing the music and noticing the body. So notice how the body is meeting with the chair, feeling the weight of the body so that you're really feeling this body in the feet, the legs, back. Checking in with the breath. Giving the body a moment to meet with the music. Notice any tensions, just let that go. Or body needs, sometimes it needs movement, sometimes it's enough to notice it. And bring our awareness to the feet and the toes. Give them permission to move however they want to, being curious, but move, stretch, press into the ground. And feel free to include other parts of the body, so it's only an invitation to focus. Where I say, lift your hands moving, fingers unravel, unfold. And your awareness moving. To connect the feet and toes with the hands, the wrists, just finding that connection between parts of the body, really feeling the body, feeling muscles, curious. anywhere that breath wants to be directed. The hands, fingers, seeing how the spine, neck might be moving. Slow as you need, as gentle as you need. Shoulders, taking that breath a little bit into the heart, hands. Giving that dance permission to expand that little bit more before we come to completion. Maybe the elbows, the knees. Even if you're sitting down, whole body, breath. As we let the music into more stillness, just let the body slow down the movement, doing a little check-in with the breath, heart with the body, it's been moved. And just giving a moment of thanks to whatever we felt, its body and whatever it was able to do, dance right now. Anything it showed us. And as we do come to completion, bending our feet, groundedness of our body in the chair. Tiny little journey we went on together, more version of what's possible. Bringing ourselves back to this present moment. Gratitude. Taking another moment to transition that space with whatever we need. It's beginning to trust our body. Sometimes, again, there's a stretch or a breath or nothing's needed. We're back and it's okay. And we'll step back into our shared circle here, and Althea, who I'm sure will want to close for us. And feel free, anyone, to contact me after this if you have questions, and even a small practice can bring things up. And if you have questions, you can email. We don't have time for a big checkout circle, which we do on a Tuesday. We have 15 minutes just to check out. So
that was beautiful. Thank you, Ayla. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody who's joined us tonight. And I hope you got some inspiration and golden nuggets from the talk tonight. And to Christine also. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I hope it's inspired people. As I said, I'm going to send this recording to everybody. It'll be on my website, and I'll be putting the links to how to get in contact with Ayla if you want to come and do some of her classes. Yep, fantastic. Okay, so I'll bring it to a close then. Thank you so much, everybody. Is that what?
Amanda was saying something that, yeah, if anyone has a last thing to share.
My chair.
On your chair, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Althea, for organising this, and thank you, Christine, and thank you, Ayla.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I agree. Thank you. I ended up caressing my body. I was
Oh.
actually caressing it. So I haven't
Yeah.
done that. So that's the first. I've never caressed it. No, it was lovely. Thank you.
That was just a few minutes, and Ayla does the classes. It's for an hour, an
An
hour.
hour and then 15 minutes checkout, but you can take as much time as you need to be, you know, just this, yeah. And we'll think about whether an adapted version might be of help, you know. I'll really feel into that, and your feedback would be most welcome on that.
Thanks, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so have a lovely evening, everybody. I'll bring it to a close now, and thank you everybody for joining and sharing the space. Fantastic.
Yeah, so much gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Courageous souls. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank
Lovely
you.
positivity.
Yes,
Thank
lots of
you.
yes. Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.